there's not a lot of sex on TV anymore. There's not a lot of, especially fun sex that is not to be punished, or sex that is not violent, frankly. I think there's a lot of non-consensual sex on TV, and I think that is exhausting and psychologically numbing and damaging, probably. And so that was one of the appeals of this show. That being said, it is 100% also one of the risks of, like, is there too much? Will this turn an audience off?
Hello. Hi. Hello, I'm Jacob Tierney, creator of Heated Rivalry.
For Jacob Tierney, it was clearly a risk worth taking. His adaptation of Rachel Reed's hockey romance story, Heated Rivalry, is a cultural phenomenon.
You're an awesome player to watch.
Yes. The fully Canadian production is bold, moving, and wildly successful.
One of the biggest shows in the world right now.
From the wildly popular breakout show Heated Rivalry.
We have got the stars of Heated Rivalry here.
It's also very
gay.
Montreal-born Tierney has been around show business his whole life.
I found proof on Dad's computer.
He's an actor, director, and executive producer. He's had success with Letterkenny.
Oh, Daryl. Oh, the humidity. Y'all might want to think about doing the same thing.
And Shoresy.
We got a ton of ice cream in the fridge too, so all set there.
Sweet Jesus, Pie, what do you got there?
Sanguine got drumsticks.
Love a good stick.
But with Heated Rivalry, he's having a moment. Tierney took some time out of writing season 2 to speak with me at the Mattamy Athletic Centre in Toronto. Your show, your career, presumably, super hot at this moment. What's it like being
I
you?
love that, my career, presumably. That is the way we feel in this industry. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's been pretty crazy to see what's happened with this show, and so quickly. I think the quick part is the part that's the most kind of remarkable, in the sense that we only finished airing in North America not even 2 months ago, and so for the show to have, done what it's done is it's pretty extraordinary.
Yeah, so in my newsroom in Vancouver, on social media, I started seeing all these references. A lot of women that I work with just love the show so much. You've been through this before with new programs coming out. Sometimes they're hits, maybe sometimes they're not. Why do you think this grew so quickly?
It's a great question, and I wish I had an answer for it. I think it's it's always a combination of things. There's inevitably an element of alchemy, of luck. This is not a science, this business. I think that romance as a genre is largely underserved. I think that female audiences and queer audiences have in common being fairly underserved. And so I think this show just hit at a moment when people were open to it and receptive to it. And I think it's also a show that really wears its heart on its sleeve, and I think that people responded well to that as well.
If we had done this interview in October, before the first episode dropped, would you have been nervous about the show?
I wouldn't have been nervous, because I didn't expect anything approaching this. So I think I would have been grateful to be working, to have made a new show, one that I was very proud of. I mean, I knew the show was good, or at least I liked it, which is really all I can hope for. I knew my network liked it. I knew we were all, optimistic. We got picked up by HBO, which is obviously an extraordinary achievement. And I think I would have been cautiously optimistic. But truthfully, I've been doing this a long time. And the level of, kind of zeitgeisty success that we've had with the show isn't something you even think about, because it virtually never happens.
Are there any gay hockey players?
None that have said it publicly.
I was hoping that the show would be well received, that it would get kind of a culty following, that it would be a sleeper success. That would have been the thing that I would have been thrilled about. I definitely would not have predicted the current outcome.
What was the point at which you realized this is different, this is a phenomenon?
It's interesting. Because of social media, I was like, what's happening? This has always been my algorithm. My producing partner, Brendan, has famously said, the reason I was supposed to tell this, make this show and tell this story is because my algorithm has always been hockey and gay. That's me. That makes sense. But I started to realize that, this is this is happening to other people as well. And then the first weekend where the show aired, the first 2 episodes, was very intense. I'd never, we did a press day, and then we did another press day, and then it was another press day, and then it was more, and then it was like a morning where it was like, okay, you're talking to the New York Times and Rolling Stone and Entertainment Weekly and People Magazine, and I was like, what is happening? Like, they were like, somebody's doing a piece in the Washington Post, yes, but in the Wall Street Journal. Like, places that I was like, that doesn't make any sense. That's not correct. That shouldn't happen. So it was kind of a bit of a slow burn, but the amount of kindness that has been thrown our way collectively, whether it's the actors or the crew members or to me specifically, it's really been very, very, very meaningful and very special to be told so much that you've moved people and that you've made them feel good and you've made them feel seen, and it's been really nice.
Yeah, that is terrific to hear. Now, on my social media, which is not exactly like yours, but a little bit in terms of what I get fed to me, I was actually shocked by the amount of heated rivalry stuff from women who I don't follow, who love the fleece, who love the, all the stuff, right?
Yes. That's the Prime Minister's fleece now. Ladies, back off.
There it is. This guy's.
No, you can buy it soon, I think.
Yes. But the one thing I never saw, was a negative or ugly reaction to the show. Has there been that?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah?
I mean, yes, there's been, sure, it's not possible for there not to be. What I will say is that, in the in the noise, in the volume of reaction, it's very small. It's very small.
The nice thing about it is the people who might feel that way maybe aren't watching it, right?
Great, and nor should they.
Yeah.
Nothing's for everyone. God bless. You don't have to watch it. It's not being forced upon you. Although I understand how it can feel that way a little bit from the perspective of social media, that it's a bit overwhelming. But no, truly by and large, such a positive reaction. I mean, unlike anything I've ever experienced.
Come here. No, you come here. No, you come here. No, you come here.
There's sex in the show.
Is there?
I think there is. Is there a lot of...
I have to check my notes. I think you're thinking of something else.
And so, was that seen either by you or the people you work with as a risk, the amount of sex?
I mean, it's a risk, but it's also the thing that gets the door open. I mean, that was always the pitch. But, the source material, these books, these romance novels, they're naughty. They're spicy, as they call them in the romance industry. And so what I was telling people when we were trying to get the show made was they're not successful despite this spice. They're successful because of it. That's what this audience wants. And so to remove that would be removing an element that I think makes these books very successful. But also with this specific story, with Shane and Ilya and Heated Rivalry, sex is the language with which these two characters communicate for so many years. They don't really talk to each other. They have sex. And the scenes are not gratuitous, or at least I don't think they're gratuitous. They're there to tell the story. They're a function of the story. They're part of the story. And it was also really important to see how they changed and evolved with this relationship. So yeah, element of risk, element of, that's what we always said. Somebody's going to write something about this show because there's not a lot of gay, smutty hockey shows on TV.
Maybe you've created a genre.
I didn't create it, but I think that maybe I've accelerated the popularity of a genre. I would say that's fairly true.
Beyond the sex, there is a lot of optimism in this story. There's a lot of beauty in this story. There is not much dread. My wife and I were watching it, and she kept saying to me, something bad's going to happen, and she was dreading that. That doesn't happen, at least not in the first season.
No, it doesn't happen. And it's very interesting that you say that, because a lot of gay audiences, a lot of queer audiences, a lot of people just a little bit older than me, but I think also my age, we are used to something bad happening. We are used to waiting for the other shoe to drop. We're used to a punishment, especially if we get to have sex. If you see sex in kind of queer sex in mainstream content, there is almost always a punishment later on narratively. And this show does not have that. It is truly, that's why I wanted to make it. It is a celebration of queer joy. And I know that there were audiences, I think also because it dropped weekly, that would be like, ooh, okay, but next week. Ooh, what's gonna happen next week? I even had a friend who told me, while the credits were rolling at the end of episode 6 in the car, he's like, I was still waiting for something. And I was like, what do you think they're gonna do? Hit a deer? What do you think is gonna happen? And then I thought, maybe I should have had them get pulled over and just get a speeding ticket. Nothing else happens, they just get a speeding ticket. Maybe that would have done the trick. But the pleasure of getting to make this and show it to the world is that there is none of that. It's that it is a genuine romance with a happy ever after, or a happy, as they say, a happy for now, I believe is the language in romance. And that was why I wanted to do it.
I'm not going to give any spoilers because not everybody who's watching this has watched the series.
It's based on a book,
but
you could spoil it.
But I'll tell you, episodes 5 and 6 were by far my favorite.
Yeah.
And there are a couple of scenes that are so perfect to me. And one is when Ilya is on the phone speaking Russian with the music, with the scene, with the darkness of the shot. Tell me about that moment.
It's one of the few moments in the show that I had to write wholesale because it's not quite in the book. We know it happens, but we don't actually know what Ilya has said. And so, so I just wrote that. I always knew it was going to be an important moment, and I had the music picked out very early for it because it's the Moonlight Sonata by Beethoven, which is one of my favorite pieces of music. And the way I always thought about it was, what Shane is hearing, because he can't speak Russian, is just the most beautiful sounds he can think of. And to me, the most beautiful thing I can think of to just listen to is the Moonlight Sonata.
Но я не мог. Я не был здесь.
So I always wanted to play it there. We found that location at almost the last minute. Another location fell through. He was going to be walking by a river, I believe, was where but it was also by a highway. And then I was, my line producer, Lori, who found this location for us, the tunnel that we shot in, she was like, you're going to have to loop, dub the whole scene. And I was like, well, I can't. This guy's already learned 5 minutes of Russian for this scene. I can't make him do that twice or do it again in a few months. So we found this weird tunnel that just ended up being perfect. And it's one of the nice things about having, what I like about making TV and movies is that there's so many moving parts. Things don't always go your way. Something will drop out, something else will drop in, and hopefully you end up where you're supposed to be. If you go in with the right attitude that there's no one place this has to happen, this conversation, it can be anywhere.
Я так сильно тебя люблю и не знаю, что с этим делать.
And so we just found an interesting place, and it turned into something really special. I'm very proud of that scene as well.
It's a beautiful
And I'm
scene.
very proud of Connor's story in that scene. His performance is astounding.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You've been around movie making your whole life.
I sure have.
Your dad is responsible for Bon Cop, Bad Cop.
That's right.
Which I only saw recently, and it is everybody should watch it.
He's from Quebec.
Martin Ward, David Butchard.
It is a fantastic movie.
I agree. Yeah.
What did you learn about this craft from your dad?
Oh, a lot. I think the most important thing he taught me as a filmmaker that I've really taken with me is that money is creative. We work in this country, we do not have unlimited finances. We have a limited amount of money. And when we were making a film called The Trotsky, and basically what he would present these decisions to me. They were financial issues, but they were presented as creative problems. And it was like, you can't afford everything, but we can afford this or this. You have to pick. You're the director. And it was an incredibly valuable lesson to learn because it turns problems into solutions. And it forces you to take responsibility for your own creative decisions, which I think is a good thing.
Your father's passed away.
Yes.
What do you think he'd say about the success of Heated Rivalry?
He would be very proud of me. He would be very proud of me. He was always... he was always my biggest cheerleader. He was always my biggest supporter. And yeah, he believed in me enormously, but he also spent his whole career fighting for this industry and fighting for the Canadian film business. You know, he was he ran the Cinémathèque Québécoise. He was deeply involved. Sorry, I miss him. He was deeply involved, and he believed that we could be world class. He believed that we were capable as a culture, both in Quebec and Canada, of accomplishing great things. And I think he'd be really, really proud of the show, of me, and yeah, I think it would be pretty meaningful for him.
What impact do you think Heated Rivalry will have on the Canadian industry?
I don't know. You know, I've been doing this long enough to know that often we learn the wrong lessons from things. We don't learn the right lessons.
What do you mean by that?
Well, we just think that the worst version would be like to assume that now go do that again to other people. You know, like, why can't you do this? Why don't you sell your show everywhere? Because you know, what happened to Heated Rivalry doesn't happen to a lot of shows, period, much less Canadian shows. What I hope that it does is it encourages us to double down on investing in our own culture of saying we are capable of these things. They can happen. They won't always happen. It won't. But it could, and it should, and if you provide the right creatives with the right resources and let them do their thing. You know, part of the reason that Heated Rivalry has worked is because I've been working at Crave for a long time. I had creative executives who trusted me and trusted my vision, and they, with an enormous amount of guidance and respect and mutual respect and you know, they let me do my thing. And to a certain extent, and that's important, to trust creatives. You don't get, this was always going to be a bold swing, so to try to then hedge and limit it would not have made a lot of sense. It's like, if it's going to be bold, go big or go home with something like this. And I think that you know, I think that it's worth investing in creatives, and it's worth investing in our culture. This is a uniquely Canadian story. It's a Canadian book, it's Canadian talent, made for Canadian TV, and the world is paying attention, and I think that's amazing. I think if anything, it really should encourage us all or the powers that be, it's not up to me, to continue to see this industry flourish. I think culture matters in that way. You know, it is a level of soft power. You know, I've had people in government tell me that this show is soft power for them. Which is amazing. Good, let it be. That's wonderful.
And it is the only program ever on HBO Max with a reference to the Canada Treasury Board.
Are we sure? Was there nothing in Game of Thrones?
I feel pretty confident.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
I want to be in the playoffs and I want to win some cups. I feel pretty aligned with the fans because we want the same thing. And at this point, it's my job to take that personally.
Ilya?
What do you say?
What about the impact of this program on the hockey world?
I think that's another big remains to be seen. You know, I think you know, there's been a lot of reach out. There's been a lot of beginnings of conversations that we've had with professional hockey, with the NHL and other organizations. Wonderful organizations like You Can Play, people like that who we want to work with and be a part of kind of spreading a message of inclusivity in hockey. I think hockey has a long way to go. Mm-hmm. You know, I think hockey has a long way to go. Men's hockey, the PWHL, I think they're leaps and bounds. They're leaving the men in the dust, in that sense. But yeah, you know, I would truthfully, I care less about the impact on professional hockey right now, and I hope that the impact is felt on younger people, among teenagers, among people who are going to be the next generation of hockey culture. I would love for the next generation of hockey culture to be kinder, more inclusive, you know, and there are wonderful, kind people all over the place, including obviously in the NHL and everywhere. And hopefully, you know, institutional change, I think, comes from, I think it comes from the numbers kind of cresting and enough people being like, we don't want to talk this way anymore. We don't want to use this kind of language. We don't want to make people feel like they don't belong here. That's really what has to change, is people being like, I don't like this. I don't want to make people feel like they don't belong here. It's not actually about a hockey player coming out. That matters way less than I think the space being open and ready for anything, to be kinder in general.
Have you gotten any surprising emails from executives or players or people in the hockey world?
I have. I've gotten a lot of, I think we've all gotten a little bit of that kind of outreach. And from the outreach I've gotten, it's pretty clear that there's road to hoe here. There's still a way to go. But people are grateful for it, and grateful for the show, is what I meant. And I think they're happy to see a different version of this than the one that is kind of endlessly presented. I think professional hockey is like the Catholic Church in the sense that there's a level of silence and monolith about it. That it maintains a kind of quietness and a kind of institutionalized. We all know what it's like to watch hockey players be interviewed, right? They're not. They're saying the same four things over and over again. And that's not because they're not interesting people. It's because that's what they've been trained to do. That's what they've been that's their media training. And so I think there's a lot of people who've at least expressed to me that they are happy to see anything different about that.
You are working on season 2 right now.
Uh-huh.
Like literally today.
Literally today.
And so you are in
Doesn't this look like work?
Yeah.
This is what I do. I come here to TMU and I go to work.
And can you tell us anything about what's going to be in season 2?
I absolutely can't.
Will it still be optimistic and without dread?
It will certainly not have the kind of dread that people anticipate with queer stories. There's more drama. Listen, the book that it's based on is called The Long Game. It's in the land of spoilers, I do feel a bit silly. These are based on books, and as people have noted, I'm very faithful to these books. So there's a way to find out. Go to your local library, support your local library, and or buy the book. That would be great for Rachel.
Rachel will probably like.
Rachel's good. Rachel's doing great.
Okay.
But I think we all need to support our local libraries too. What I will say is that the second season will continue in the spirit of the first season, in that this is about queer people not being punished for their queerness. They all have journeys, and there are ups and downs, but there will not be. There's no unhappy ending coming anybody's way. There might be a bit more suspense, maybe a few more cliffhangers, but yeah, that's also just a function of television.
It is a remarkable piece of work. Your success is incredible, and I really enjoyed talking to you. Thank you very much.
I enjoyed it too. Thanks, Ian.